Chief White House correspondent Major Garrett is in Mount Pleasant, just outside of Charleston. Major, I remember yesterday, Vlad and I asked you if anything could happen between now and Saturday that would maybe be a game changer. And I wondered about endorsements. I wondered specifically about Nikki Haley because she's so incredibly popular. So she came out, she's endorsing Marco Rubio. So is Senator Tim Scott, Representative Trey Gowdy. But now the question is, do these endorsements carry the same weight as they would have maybe during another more conventional election cycle?
I think one of the things we have learned in a modern American presidential politics is endorsements create media coverage. They create a little bit of momentum. They inspire the people who are already committed to a campaign. They certainly perk up volunteers, and that's all important. But largely, that importance is at the margins, meaning if you don't have momentum, if you don't have a message that's resonating with voters, and you don't have a get-out-the-vote machinery behind your campaign, endorsements can only carry you so far. So in that sense, Marco Rubio got a lot of good press coverage here in South Carolina. Those people who are working on behalf of his campaign certainly love the idea that Nikki Haley is with Marco. And if you're Jeb Bush, you're thinking, wow, I can't seem to get a break here in South Carolina. So it helps. It is certainly something you would want to have, but can it create a victory for you all by itself? No, it simply cannot. Remember, Nikki Haley endorsed Mitt Romney here in 2012, and Mitt Romney was crushed by Newt Gingrich. That's just one tale of how endorsements matter at the margins, but they cannot catapult you to victory if you don't have the message, the machinery, and the voter outreach necessary to do it yourself.
With endorsements from all those politicians, though, I'm wondering, can we say that Marco Rubio is probably the mainstream candidate of choice that perhaps the party would like to see continue on?
Well, let's just confine that conversation to South Carolina, because that's the contest that matters, and that's where Marco Rubio, more than anyone else here, has sort of cornered the market, not on what I would say is the establishment, but the new establishment in South Carolina, which is somewhat consistent with the new establishment, if you will, in Republican Party circles. And what do I mean by that? I mean those who came into politics after Barack Obama won the presidency in 2008. Nikki Haley and Trey Gowdy, just to take two, were elected in 2010. That's the first time that there was a Tea Party surge in congressional or gubernatorial elections. And both Gowdy and Haley were propelled into office by that sense of Tea Party animosity toward the Barack Obama agenda and willingness to sort of create more opposition to that agenda within Republican Party circles. Tim Scott was appointed to the U.S. Senate in 2012. He won his race to fill out the last 2 years of Senator Jim DeMint's term in 2014, so he also fits into that Tea Party sensibility. All three here in South Carolina have endorsed Rubio. So, in that sense, he's cornered the market on this new establishment, Republican politics. It gives him momentum, but there's no indication here it's going to propel him past the anti-establishment frontrunner, who is, of course, Donald Trump.
And that begs the question, Major. South Carolina has had a history of picking the Republican nominee. What should we be focused on heading into Saturday's race?
I would not use the term picking. I would say solidifying. What South Carolina has done historically, it didn't do it in 2012 because Gingrich won here big and then fell flat in Florida, the next biggest contest. But what it has done historically is solidify the Republican who won either in Iowa or New Hampshire. And certainly that's what the Trump campaign is looking for. Solidifying its front-runner status as Trump and everyone else competing here heads to the March 1st primaries, which are predominantly but not exclusively in the South, because the Trump campaign's entire philosophy is lots of people want to support Donald Trump, but what they're looking for essentially is the permission of other voters to do so. And victories create that validation, if you will. And a victory in New Hampshire could be validated here in South Carolina. If it is, that validation could flow with the Trump campaign to other places. The phrase that Trump uses more often than not is, if his campaign wins in South Carolina, they may be in a position to run the table. Certainly, Ted Cruz is financially positioned to challenge Donald Trump all across the South and those other primaries on March 1st. The other campaigns are going to have to do well here to keep the fundraising going and keep their campaigns moving along. And that's going to be another part of the story on Saturday. Not just who finishes first, but who finishes second, third, and fourth, and what campaign donors and contributors decide that means for those campaigns and their ability to carry on.
Major Garrett, just outside of Charleston. Major, thanks.
Thank you.